Hey there, and welcome to Jenny from the Republic, the show where history meets headlines, where common sense still has a mic. I'm Jenny, a conservative, a history buff, and just one American trying to figure out what the heck the people we voted for are doing in Washington. In today's episode, we're digging into the real legislation Congress has been moving on lately. Not the stuff that makes the evening news, but actual resolutions being voted on, like banning stricter fridge standards, saving a tiny fish in California, and whether college gymnastics deserve a standing ovation in the Senate. Why do these things matter? Do they actually affect your life? And what do they tell us about the direction of our country? Stick with me. We're going to break it all down, plain and simple. No political fluff, just facts, context, and a little bit of perspective from someone who believes this country is worth paying a little bit of attention to. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for clicking on this video or clicking on the podcast and just giving me another chance to post and listen to me and hear what I have to say. I'm still learning a little bit on how to kind of produce this and how to be the best with what I have. I just have my phone and these little dinky mics, and I'm realizing that they kind of blow out easy, so I'm trying not to scream and maybe just hold it in one place the entire time with a little clip instead of talking into it, because that makes it muffled. So I am trying my best, and the only way to get better is to just keep doing it. So that's what I'm doing. So welcome back. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here. This is just a great day to be alive. Today's topic is going to be about Congress and just basically what Congress has been doing. And I know we think a lot about like all the crazy headlines in the news, but there's actually a lot of stuff that is going on behind the scenes that we don't realize that Congress votes on literally every single day, unless they're in recess like they were a couple weeks ago, but they are back. Congress is the House of Representatives and the Senate. So 50 senators and 435 members of the House that are in your district and your state. Your state's broken up by districts. Yeah, so every single person that votes directly affects your life. What has Congress really been doing? Besides cursing at reporters when asked about real life problems, I don't know if you guys saw that. That was dandy. What was passed last week? So starting May 1st, that's where my research has started. Today is May 6th. First, I'm going to show you guys how to find what was passed. Just go to Google, type in legislative activity for last week. And then I go to congress.gov, actions on legislation, browse by date. And then, like I said, there is new stuff that's already passed in the last 2 days of this week, but I'm going to cover what happened last week. So I'm just going to click on total here. There's been 6 actions that have been passed. So as you can see here, these are all resolutions. And what we normally think of laws as is bills. Like on Schoolhouse Rock, I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill. Bills and resolutions are both something that Congress passes. I sound like a history teacher, but I'm so serious. This stuff is confusing and it needs to be broken down. I don't understand why the US government is so complex, but I'm here to try to explain it to you to the best of my abilities. So there's a difference between resolutions, joint resolutions, and bills that are passed in Congress. So a resolution basically expresses an opinion from either the Senate or the House, and it does not become law unless there are joint resolutions and signed by the president. For example, expressing support like giving a Congressional Medal of Honor. And like I said, it can only be joint. So joint means the House and the Senate agree on it together. Does that make sense? I think. I don't know. I think it makes sense to me. So, and then bills are proposed law, or it changes a law that already exists, and everyone has to agree on it and then signed by the president. So they both have the same end goal. Everybody has to vote on it and agree on it. Like, it has to be passed by majority. Bills are just a little bit more effective. That's what we have here. And looks like 2 of them are resolutions and 4 of them are joint resolutions, which means it was proposed to the House by the House and then passed to the Senate, or vice versa. And then if it's just a resolution, it's only the Senate's problem, or it's only the House's problem. Okay, no, so this is everything that was passed on Thursday, May 1st. So the first 4 that I'm going to cover deal with Chapter 8 of Title 5, passed on January 21st, 2025, which was Inauguration Day, and primarily relates to environmental policy. So let's just deep dive into it. So, number 1, providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5, United States Code, under the rule submitted by the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy, Department of Energy, relating to Energy Conservation Program, energy conservation standards for commercial refrigerators, freezers, and refrigerator freezers. So this sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. It's actually a little bit more important than that. Essentially, it's proposing a rule change for something that the Department of Energy changed back on January 21st. It's passed by the Senate, and it's next going to be passed by the President. And it's basically opposing the new law for energy usage with walk-in freezers because it will limit consumer choice and increase operational costs, according to Columbia University. And I just wanted to make note here of like how you can see who sponsored these resolutions, who voted yes or no for these resolutions. If it's your congressman or woman, you can see everything on how they vote. So you're going to click on the title and then see where it says roll call votes. There have been 3 roll call votes. Click on that. And then for the latest, you're going to see pass Senate without amendment, yea or nay vote. Click record vote number. Then it's going to tell you all of your congresspeople who voted yes or no. Let's see if anybody from Indiana. Jim Banks and Todd Young, both of my senators, voted yes. Like I said, it's opposing the new law for energy usage because it could limit the consumer choice, increase operational costs, which basically means that it's going to just be a lot more expensive for businesses to have these rules on their laws or on their reserves. Crazy. But I mean, these environmental policies are an everyday topic. I mean, we really have to think about what we're regulating and what we're not. And are we putting a cap on things because of governmental control or because it actually is affecting our environment? So that's the first one. Like I said, 1 through 4 are all about environment. So number 2 is also a joint resolution, HJ Res 78, providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5, United States Code, of the rule submitted by the United States Fish and Wildlife Service relating to endangered and threatened wildlife and plants, endangered species status for the San Francisco Bay Delta distinct population segment of the longfin smelt. So basically, these are the smelt. They are the endangered fish of the San Francisco Bay Area, and there are special protections that are put in place for their protection because they are endangered, essentially. These fish are becoming endangered because of the city growing, and they have less food to eat, like plankton, stuff like that. The resolution will remove the endangerment label on the smelt. So some pros of this: there will be more water available to the city. You know, California, they do have a lot of droughts. Even in Northern California, the whole city is so populated that they need the water supply to support this amount of people. And then some cons. People are arguing that the bay's ecosystem could be negatively impacted, causing an imbalance on the environment, essentially. So this is going to the Senate. The House is the one that proposed it, and it was passed by the House already. So cool. Hope the fishies are all good. The third thing that was passed last week is also House Joint Resolution 88, providing congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5, United States Code, of the rules submitted by the Environmental Protection Agency relating to California State Motor Vehicle and Engine Pollution Control Standards. Advance Clean Cars 2, Waiver of Preemption, Notice of Decision. Also sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. And I swear they write these things so that civilians don't understand what they're doing and they can get it passed. And we're just like, whatever, it's just a bunch of big words that I don't know. That's just not fair. We're not all that smart. But I'm here to break it down for you. So essentially, House Joint Resolution 88 is overturning a decision made by the EPA, which grants California permission to implement even stricter vehicle standards than what the government allows. The mandate would force all vehicles to be zero emission by 2035. So in 10 years from now, all vehicles must be electric in California. So that's kind of a big deal. The resolution is seeking to revoke these standards, essentially saying that that's just not possible. The pros: California is extremely populated, therefore way more polluted than like Indiana, where I live. This could totally help their environment and the quality of air. But cons: this really takes away consumer choice and could truly be a detriment to the economy and make vehicles way more expensive. So, like I said, I live in Indiana. We have tons of automobile plants. Yes, we have a lot of new hybrids coming out. We have a lot of new electric vehicles, but that is not the number one sought after vehicle, and they are way more expensive. The average American cannot afford to solely live off of that, including charging them. So, like I said, that has been passed by the House and is moving to the Senate next. So, number 4, this is the last one that's an environmental policy. House Joint Resolution 31 is the EPA has classified some pollutants to be considered non-toxic when the Senate believes these to be very dangerous to the environment. The resolution would block these reclassifications, keeping them labeled as hazardous. It has not yet passed in the House or the Senate. Basically, there are these toxins that plants expose to our environment, and some of them are toxic. And the EPA has tried to reclassify these as non-toxic so that they can still be used. Now, if they are classified as toxic, then they have a limitation. So that's basically what it's talking about. The House has proposed it, and it is going to affect what kind of emissions can be put into our atmosphere. So that is a big deal. I don't want to be breathing in crap. Okay, the last 2 are about their Senate resolutions. So they're not a joint resolution, they're just Senate resolution, which means that the Senate passed it only to the Senate, like only the Senate voted on it. So this one's interesting, and I kind of, at first when I was reading about it, it kind of makes me question like why Congress does this, like why they spend their time with these things. But basically, I'll just read it to you. Senate Resolution 196, a resolution congratulating the University of Oklahoma women's gymnastics team for winning the 2025 National Collegiate Athletic Association Championship, 7th national title in program history. And I just don't really didn't understand why this is a legislative action. It's not passing any law. It's congratulating the team. But basically, it's not a law. It's just a formal way for Congress to write in the public record that it matters. Kind of like a pat on the back or a standing ovation. If you were in the Navy, if you understand this, it's like a Bravo Zulu, which essentially is like a good job, like you're elite. I guess that is important to Congress to congratulate them. And then the next one, Senate Resolution 197, is the same, a resolution commending and congratulating the University of Connecticut's women's basketball team for winning the 2025 National Collegiate Athletic Association Division One Women's Basketball National Championship. So that is kind of a big deal. Um, yes, it's awesome that they won, you know, yay sports. But I guess on a deeper level, maybe recognizing women's sports is something, especially for like basketball or gymnastics. Like this is just something that is not talked about quite as much. So maybe the Senate is trying to normalize a greater value for women's athletics. So that's kind of my take for it. So that's all that was passed. I'll probably do another one of these next week, except there's already like 14 actions that have been passed. So we need to really look into like what's actually becoming law. Thank you guys so much for listening. In other news, the Supreme Court has given the go ahead for President Trump to move forward with banning trans service military members. So we'll see where that takes. If the Supreme Court says okay, then, you know, obviously the executive branch is on board, and we'll just have to look to Congress to pass something so that we can have all of our checks and balances for an issue like that. And also, the new Pope is going to be picked because the last one died after meeting with JD Vance. Let me know in the comments if you guys think he did it. No, I'm just kidding. That's terrible. But thank you guys so much for listening to me today. I'm just out here trying to do some public servantry, let you guys know what's going on with people that we voted for. And some of it seems nonsense. Some of it seems like duh. Some of it also seems like what? I don't know. Do your research. Get your headlines from any articles that don't end in edu. That's what I'm going to say. If you want to do proper research, non biased, something that's legitimate, you need to read a scholarly article. And it's okay to disagree with, you know, what I think or what your next door neighbor thinks, as long as you know in your heart that you know the truth. So that's what we're here to do, show you the truth. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you next time.